We know what happened there. There was a father and son tag team who killed over 15 people. Then we know what's happening in our backyard. This is the same country that banned tennis players from coming into their country, famously Nikola Jokovic. Anti-Semitism seems to be on the rise all around the world. And what happened in Bondi Beach, Australia yesterday, December 13th, should not be a surprise to you. Take a look at this video of a protest that was taking place in 2023 in Sydney, Australia. Can we go ahead and roll screen play number one, please? Now you could hear them saying gas the Jews, F the Jews. If this is a protest that was taking place in Sydney, Australia, after this protest, the Prime Minister of Israel and the government of Israel started to give Australia warnings that, hey, you need to beef up your security. For months and months, they were giving them warning that you got to beef up your security. And of course, Australia being the libtard country it is, it ignored these warning signs. And look what took place on December 13th, yesterday. Um, this horrific event unfortunately happened the same day we had two people killed at Brown University. And what's interesting to me is that we know what happened in Sydney, in Australia at Bondi Beach, halfway across the world. We know what happened there. There was a father and son tag team who killed over 15 people. Then we know what's happening in our backyard at Brown University, where we have 800 cameras on campus, nearly as many cameras on campus as students, and we only have one footage of this suspect they have in custody from Brown University, where he's kind of walking around the corner. And you ask yourself, why is there so much misinformation online? Well, it's precisely this reason why, where you've got a state that's a surveillance state and there's only one footage of the suspect they have in custody. Release everything you know to the public so we could help you out. So we could say, oh, hey, we might know this person, just like we did with Charlie Kirk's shooter. There was such pressure. You've got to release footage. You've got to be transparent. And we're hearing that the FBI director, Kash Patel, him and his team used geosignaling to narrow down on the suspect they have in custody. So, okay, let's go to the Sydney, Australia. I'm sorry, not Sydney, Australia, Bondi Beach, Australia event that happened yesterday, and the 15 people that have been killed. You listen to the mainstream news media, particularly in Australia, and you ask them, what's the motive? And they'll go, we don't have a motive yet. And you go, wait a second, how do you not have a motive yet? This was obviously a anti-Semitic attack because those two father and son, they were specifically targeting a Hanukkah celebration that was getting ready to take place. There was a Hanukkah celebration, a lighting that was supposed to be happening just hours before this horrific event took place. And just to give you some facts, I mean, this was a father and son tag team duo. Australia has some of the most strictest gun laws, gun legislation. Uh, Yet the six guns that were used on site, a shotgun, a bolt action, um, all of this was purchased legally. And I listened to the Prime Minister of Australia coming out and mourning with the Australian people and talking about what had happened. And he goes, we're going to go further and more strict on our gun laws. And you ask yourself, why would you go more strict? Shouldn't you go the other way? Because the response time was way too long. It took over 10 minutes for the police to disarm these two father and son duo, this terrorist duo. And it wasn't even the police that disarmed the father. It was a civilian who stepped in, a man who sold fruits there. Another Muslim who stepped in, a good Muslim who stepped in and disarmed the radical terrorist. And this person who disarmed the father, and if you see this video, and hopefully my editor could overlay the video as I walk through it. As I recall watching the video, it was this you can see the father behind the tree with a shotgun, and he's taking aim, and he's just pulling that trigger. You can see a guy running at him from behind and snatching the gun away from him, and the father with the gun, the terrorist, falls and stumbles and flails. And the fruit vendor, whose name I forget, I think his name is something Ahmed, and he points the gun at him, um, and and he doesn't shoot the father. He obviously just kind of points it at him, and he lays the gun down afterwards. And then the father, the terrorist, is kind of flips and falls and fumbles, and I guess he r- walks or runs towards back to his son, who's on the bridge just taking aim. And if you listen to the reports, the fruit vendor was shot multiple times and taken to the hospital. I'm guessing it must have been by the son, the terrorist son, who was on the bridge with the bolt rifle action. And it's a damn shame. And you listen to the Israeli Prime Minister and the IDF, and they were giving Australia multiple warnings of what was going to take place, and Australia completely ignored their warnings. Israel was saying, you've got to beef up your security, and they just said, "Nah, we're okay." And look what happened. Australia has some of the most strictest, not just gun laws, but they've got extremely liberal leftist policies. Over the last few years, they've let over millions of migrants into their country, and um, they they go so far left on the gun control laws where, if you just simply ask the question, what if there was a civilian or if police officers were more trained, uh, they would have disarmed these two lunatics immediately at a much faster response rate. And now we're hearing that the father was killed and the son is in stable condition, was shot, but he's in stable condition. But going back to the liberal policies that Australia has embraced, I mean, this is the same country that banned tennis players from coming into their country. Famously, Nikola Jokovic, the tennis player, the gods of gods when it comes to tennis. I mean, I don't know much about tennis, but I know he's a very good tennis player. And they banned him from coming into the country during the COVID era because he wasn't vaccinated and refused to get vaccinated. And it's a completely backwards thinking mythology when you think about it, really, because why would you want to embrace these policies? I mean, you have these protesters that are saying kill the Jews, gas them. You've let in millions of illegal immigrants into your country that don't want to assimilate. They don't know how to assimilate to your culture and your country. And you have millions of Australian people fighting back the leftist government that's currently in place. And they're just not being taken seriously. And yet it takes an event like this for them to say, we've got to do something about these policies. We've got to go back to common sense policies. And so hopefully, that's what the Australian people do. They go back to common sense policies. Australia is so strict that they've even banned kids from social media. Like you're not allowed to, if you're under the age of 16, you're not allowed to go on social media. You're not allowed to be on social media like Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and and Snapchat. All these platforms are completely banned for kids that are under the age of 16. Now, as someone who thinks about social media and knows that social media has a massive influence on people, why didn't you go after the companies? Why are you going after teenagers and kids who actually are benefiting from social media? Some of them, are full-time influencers. Some of them learn a lot from social media. Now, of course, some of them are radicalized, like the father and son. I'm sure we're going to find out we're radicalized on social media. I mean, that's what happens a lot of times. They're radicalized in mosques and they're radicalized in social media. I mean, I've had friends who've worked for Homeland Security and who've um, been in the federal government, and they tell me like the way these people are radicalized is through social media, through magazines. Some of my friends told me that they've when they were doing terrorist investigations, the way Al Qaeda and ISIS were recruiting a lot of its young folks was through social media and through magazines by putting ads out there. And so I guess we'll see what happens with this father and son duo. But the more larger point I wanted to make was that Jewish people just don't feel safe anymore, and we should be doing whatever we can to protect them. There's only about 16 million of them left in the world. 8 million of them in Israel, the other 8 million all throughout the world, mostly in the States, because that's where they feel the safest, where they don't have to turn around at 6 o'clock to see if there's a gun pointed at them or someone trying to kill them. But we've got to protect these people. I mean, this is just this. There's such a rise of anti-Semitism happening, and it's happening because of these left kooky policies, where you open your borders. I mean, you let in mass migration from these countries, these third world countries, and the minute you criticize it, I mean, you're labeled racist when you could clearly see these people don't know how to assimilate to Western policies, to a culture that has or a society that has laws and ethics and morale. So yeah, I mean, this is just absolutely nuts. Um, all right, well, that's certainly my take on this, and just wishing everybody a safe holiday season, Merry Christmas, and let's pray for these people who've sadly are no longer with us. Thanks for watching. This is your host Amir Khan. I'll see you in the next one.